if you want to break with these imperialist forces, it's simple. We denounce the agreements. Everything starts from there. I think the example of Chad in any case is tangible. They started by denouncing the agreements. Otherwise, if we don't denounce the agreements, just saying that
whether you're a Democrat or not, how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people? It's a dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it. Those who call themselves Democrats have seen scenes where people were prevented from joining assemblies. We've seen scenes where forces landed in assemblies to force deputies to take texts. We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Persians. If that's democracy, I repeat, we don't want this democracy. And when you see incompetence, they don't seek to know what the real meaning of the word democracy is. They cling to the definition given to them by imperialism and start talking about democracy without really knowing the basics. That's incompetence. You have to know, look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa. Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact. Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome all the young people from the 13 regions who are in the room and those who have not been able to access the room. To all the young people from Africa, to accompany the youth, welcome to the land of integral men. I would like to pay a vibrant tribute to our strong security and defense forces who fight day and night for Burkina Faso to be and remain beautiful. I would like us to take a minute to pray for those who are on the ground and also for the rest of the souls of those who have fallen for our country. Thank you. Thank you. Let us give thanks to God for allowing us to be here today to celebrate the International Youth Day in good health. I say this very often because human beings often forget God when they have no problem, when they are in happiness. But when worries come, this is when we remember God. Give thanks every day for the breath of life and for health. Youth from Burkina Faso, youth from Africa, youth, this phase of life where we have enough strength, enough energy, like the paraphrase, the slammer that has just passed. Youth is the time when we have spent enough time. We must take advantage of the time we have been given. Use the energy necessary to reach our goals, to change the world, to change our world, to change the world of others positively. Children want to grow up to be young. Older people want to grow up to be young. Everyone wants to be young. Youth is a blessing. So take advantage of youth to do useful work. This is why when I see in the chosen theme, the first two words that come to mind, integration, security. Africa faces many challenges,
Et on doit se poser des questions.
And we must ask
La
ourselves
jeunesse est-elle
questions.
un atout ou un handicap pour le développement des nations?
Is youth an asset or a handicap for the development of nations?
Et vous la savez. Les pays
The answer is simple and unequivocal, and you know it. Developed countries mostly have an aging population, and currently many countries have launched programs to rejuvenate their populations. Africa has this chance to have a very young population,
Mais pourquoi l'Afrique n'est-elle pas développée?
but why is Africa not developed?
Nous devrions donc nous pencher sur la question de comprendre pourquoi l'Afrique.
We must therefore look at the question of why Africa has a young population and why it is not developed, and why developed countries seek to rejuvenate their populations.
Il faut que nous arrivions donc à transformer notre jeunesse en un véritable atout et un moteur.
We must transform our youth into a real asset and engine of development for our continent.
Pour ce faire, nous avons
To do this, we need integration.
d'intégration. Nous avons besoin de sécurité.
We need security and development. We need to unite.
Certes, vous entendrez parler de l'Union.
You will hear about the African Union.
Oui, elle existe. Mais quelle
Yes, it
est
exists,
l'Union africaine?
but what is the effect of the African Union?
Nous ne pourrons pas parler d'intégration dans le thème.
We cannot talk about integration and not talk about the African Union,
C'est cette organisation qui devrait nous unir.
because it is this organization that should unite us,
Mais nous sommes au
create
regret
real
de
integration.
voir ces guerres qui persistent sur le continent africain.
But we regret to see this war that persists on the African continent, that kills millions of young people,
Et à la tête d'États pourvus d'armées.
and that this organization, which has the head of state provided with an army, cannot organize itself to support certain countries.
L'union n'est pas juste un mot.
The union is not just a word, the union is a symbol.
Et nous jeunes devrions apprendre le
And we
leçon
young
de
people
cette
should learn from this
situation
situation
pour faire de l'intégration une réalité.
to unite us to make
J'ai été
integration a reality.
désagréablement surpris lorsque l'Éthiopie, qui abrite donc
I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which is the seat of the African Union,
et quand j'ai vu le Premier ministre se mettre en treillis,
experienced a conflict, and when the Prime Minister announced to close the university in Addis Ababa to face the threat,
l'action de l'Union africaine.
I did not see the action of the African Union to
Les
protect this
États
seat.
occidentaux pour la plupart voyaient Addis
Western
Ababa
states, for the most part, saw Addis Ababa fall, fold their backpacks, and leave.
L'Éthiopie s'est battue, a trouvé une solution
Ethiopia
interne.
fought, found an internal solution, and lives more or less in peace today.
Les enfants du Congo meurent.
The children of Congo have been dying for years.
Plusieurs autres conflits, tels au Soudan.
Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent.
Nous aurions aimé voir l'Union africaine générer
We would have liked to see the African Union generate the strength and all the strategies necessary to support its states so that they can find peace.
Nous ne viendrons même pas parler de nous ici au Sahel.
We will not even talk about us here in the
Depuis
Sahel.
près de 10 ans,
For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the scene of international terrorism.
mais nous ne voyons aucun soutien.
But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem.
Pire, il y a quelques jours de cela, un pays
Worse, a few
étranger
days ago, a foreign country in Africa openly announced that it had supported and
avoir
participated
soutenu et participé à une attaque lâche
in a
terroriste
cowardly,
contre
terrorist,
les
and
forces de
barbaric
notre
attack against the
confédération.
forces of our confederation.
L'Union africaine n'a pipé aucun mot pour condamner.
The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference.
L'Union africaine n'a
The
pipé
African
aucun mot
Union did
pour
not say a
condamner
word to
cette
condemn this
ingérence
interference
extérieure à
of a foreign state in Africa in the internal affairs of our states.
de nos États. Et ce coup de gueule, je souhaiterais
I would like them to hear this shout
qu'ils sortent donc de leur silence
and get out of their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union.
Il nous faut nous unir. Il nous faut nous unir et
We
la
must
seule manière de
unite.
s'unir,
The only way to
c'est de
unite is to talk to each other,
comprendre,
to understand each other, and to be able to establish the basis of this unity.
unité-là. Et jeunes, laissez-moi vous dire que pour s'unir,
Young people, let me tell you that to unite, there are three words, three big screws that we must ban from our behavior and our lives.
je parle de la lâcheté, la traîtrise,
I am talking about cowardice, treachery, and incompetence.
il faut bannir,
We must ban these three words from our way of life.
de notre mode de vie.
I am going to
Je vais vous
explain why.
expliquer pourquoi. La lâcheté recouvre beaucoup de vices.
Cowardice covers many
Lâche
screws.
a toujours peur. Et lorsqu'on a peur,
A coward is always afraid. And when we are afraid, we become slaves. We bend. We lick our boots.
nos ancêtres n'ont
Our
pas été
ancestors were not cowardly.
lâches. Et si nous sommes lâches, nos enfants vont nous...
And if we are cowardly, our children will ask us
Imaginez qu'au
questions.
Burkina, nous refusions de nous battre. Et nous acceptons de nous...
Imagine that in Burkina Faso, we refuse to fight and we accept to submit, to live in
Ils se
slavery.
poseront des questions. Nos parents ont-ils été des lâches pour nous laisser...
Tomorrow, our children will grow up and they will ask themselves questions. Have our parents been cowardly to leave us in slavery? Whether we are alive or dead, we will feel it.
a peur. Et les impérialistes ont compris, ils essaient de faire
Cowardice is
peur.
afraid, and the imperialists have understood that they are trying to scare the leaders so that they become cowards.
Tous les autres vices peuvent naître. On fait tout.
Because when you are a coward, all the other screws can be born.
Ils viennent
We do everything so that we are afraid.
nous menacent.
They come to our palaces. They threaten us directly or with veiled
Bien
threats.
sûr, nous répondons comme il le faut.
Of course, we respond as it is necessary. They try to make us understand. They take examples every time.
Ils prennent chaque fois des exemples. Ils nous diront, vous
They
savez,
tell us, you know,
Thomas Sankara a essayé de faire comme ça, mais
Thomas Sankara tried to do this, but he is
Le
dead.
président haïtien, il a essayé de faire comme ça, il est où? Il est mort.
President Haitian tried to do this, but he is dead.
Comme ça, il est où? Il est mort. Voilà des propos qu'on nous tient de manière...
Gaddafi tried to do this, but he is dead. These are words that we take in a veiled way to scare us.
Nous voyons aussi souvent certains jeunes
And we often see some young people trying to take our path in a different way. We can hear them say, such and such person ruled like this, he is in his country.
a régné ainsi, il a la CPI. Telle personne a régné
Such
ainsi,
and
il a-
such person ruled like
Ça pour
this,
essayer de
he
nous
is in
faire
prison.
peur, pour qu'on devienne des lâches. Mais je pense qu'ils n'ont pas compris quelque chose.
All this to try to scare
Quand nous
us
disons
so
la
that we
patrie
become
ou la
cowards.
mort, nous vaincrons. Ce n'est pas qu'une phrase.
But I think they didn't understand one thing. When we say country or death,
Ce
we
n'est pas
win.
qu'une phrase, ça a tout son sens.
It's not just a sentence. It's not just a sentence. It all makes sense. We are not afraid and we will never be afraid.
Ils ont fait peur sûrement à beaucoup de chefs d'État africains.
They probably scared a lot of African heads of
Vous voyez,
state.
souvent,
They probably
quand on
scared a lot of
s'exprime,
African heads of
ou
state.
Lorsqu'on a l'occasion d'être dans certaines situations à l'extérieur,
You see, often when we
nous
express
souvent des
ourselves or
propos pour
when we have the
interpeller les chefs
opportunity to be in
africains,
certain situations
qu'on
abroad,
devrait prendre soin de notre jeunesse pour pouvoir amorcer notre
we often
développement.
say something to call on African heads of state to wake up and take care of our youth so that we can start our real development. So that we can start our real development.
Publiquement, à nos propos,
We are often misunderstood. Some have publicly opposed us. Some have publicly opposed us because they feel indexed. But I can assure you, youth, that when we find ourselves in the corridors,
ces mêmes chefs d'État nous disent vous êtes sur la bonne voie, c'est ce qu'il faut faire pour que l'Afrique...
these same heads of state tell us that we are on the right track and that this is what needs to be done so that Africa can rise again.
Nous leur posons des questions à savoir pourquoi vous ne
So
faites
we
pas
ask
comme
them
nous,
questions
pourquoi vous
like,
nous accompagnez
why
pas?
don't you do like us?
Certains
Why
nous
don't you
disent qu'ils ont
support
des
us?
alliés, certains nous disent qu'ils ne peuvent pas. Chers aînés,
Some tell us
chefs
that they have the
d'État,
means and some tell
de
us
cette
that they
tribune,
can't.
Je souhaiterais dire que les peuples africains sont les peuples les plus pacifiques.
Dear elders, African heads of
Lorsque
state,
vous
At the end of this podium, I would like to say that African peoples are the most peaceful, that African peoples are the most peaceful. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. We are not afraid to come out and tell the people we are sorry, we have been compromised, we have been mistreated, we have been compromised by several things, and we ask for forgiveness, and we come back on the right path, and to start working really for the independence of our states and our emancipation. And I think it is possible. If we remain in this posture of fear, we will be cowardly and history will judge us. Our children will ask questions. Our grandchildren will ask questions. We are writing history. There is no place for cowardice. If our ancestors had been cowardly, we would not be here. Do you remember? I will give you an example of the people of Bamileke and Bassa. I want to talk about the Cameroonians, the union of the population of Cameroon, which since the 1950s has started a relentless fight against the Poles, but they have been massacred. The French colonial armies, in turn, have dispatched infantry battalions, tanks, helicopters, have annihilated anti-village. The most inhuman tortures have taken place during this period. You can do research on what they call the cart or the Bakasima. Hundreds of thousands of people have been decimated in Africa because they dared to ask their settlers to leave their land. A civil war that lasted several years. That is to say that people dared to face the imperialists with their bare hands so that we could be here. There is no reason why we cannot face the imperialists so that our future generations can live. There are many examples throughout Africa of brave men who refused to be cowardly, who fought, who faced. Well, let us be worthy of these people. We are their descendants, and let us be worthy of them. A coward cannot be worthy. Let us not be cowards, young Africans, because a coward is always a traitor. And it goes hand in hand. They will try to frighten us so that we become cowards. And if we are cowards, we will betray. We must ban the treachery of our habits. Africans have been traitors so that the slave trade succeeds in Africa. It is because Africans have been traitors that colonization has been able to sustain in Africa. Let us question history. We will see. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, was betrayed because he dared to hold his head. And these same beautiful televisions came to the Congo for a few bids extended to individuals in the Congo for an interview to please their population. And you were able to follow that. Lumumba bothered us. He is dead. We are happy. It is treachery. Many other heroes have fallen so that we are here today. And it is a technique of imperialism to frighten others by taking action to really create terror. It has not started today. I will give you the example of a warrior who fought, Victor Biakaboda. Read it and you will understand. He came from a family of chiefs. No chiefdom given by the colonizer. He was a worthy child. He studied in Senegal, I believe. He became a doctor in Guinea. And when the RDA was created, he went to the Ivory Coast region to fight against imperialists, against invaders, against the colonizer. He tried to organize the Ivorian society. Everywhere, people began to speak up. There was a general in his time, Pichu, who massacred the Ivorian population so that this spirit of freedom could never germinate.
aux côtés de Félix Houphouët-Boigny.
He continued his fight alongside FEORCEC Lix Houphouët-Boigny. They fought, but the most violent was Victor Biakaboda. He represented a threat to the imperialists. What did he do?
En plus de massacrer les populations qui
In
manifestaient,
addition to massacring the people who demonstrated,
ils l'ont tué de manière atroce à côté de Boisflé.
one night they killed him in an atrocious way next to Boaflon.
Lorsque les populations de Dimbokro ont entendu l'assassinat, ils ont
A few hours later, when the people of Dimbakro heard the murder, they marched, they demonstrated.
L'histoire est têtue, les faits sont là.
They were massacred by the colonial army. History was killed, the facts are there. After his death, which scared FOC Lix Houphouët-Boigny, they called him and told him, if you continue the fight, you will meet the same fate.
Et il s'est rallié à l'impérialisme. Il a été nommé
He was afraid and he joined imperialism. He was appointed minister in France and later he came to take the reins of the Ivorian Accord. They used him to eliminate many other people who dared to raise their voices.
Je pense que Thomas Sankara est un bel exemple.
I think Thomas Sankara is a good example.
Si vous avez peur,
If you are afraid, you will be cowardly and you will be a traitor.
n'ayez jamais peur.
Never be afraid.
La lutte
The fight must continue.
Il y a beaucoup d'autres exemples à travers le
There are
monde.
many other examples around the world.
Il y a ce phénomène qu'ils ont aussi utilisé depuis.
And there is this phenomenon that they have also used for a long time and that they continue to use.
Certains individus, par exemple, se sont retrouvés dans d'autres pays.
You see, some individuals, for example, have found themselves in other countries
Au gouvernement du Mali. Vous avez entendu cette histoire
and created a so-called parallel government to the Malian government.
qui a existé dans le temps. Je vais vous prendre l'exemple.
You have heard this story. It is a technique that has existed for a long time.
Ce professeur de mathématiques qui a
I will give you the example of Ahmed Chalabi,
a été recruté
Iraq. This math teacher, who was even in the Iraqi government, was recaptured by the imperialists, and he formed this semblance of parallel government in Iraq,
et
in the
on l'a
United
utilisé
States.
pour être donc le mouton de sacrifice. Parce que c'est à lui
And he
qu'on
was
a dit,
used to be the sheep of sacrifice,
prononcer publiquement que Saddam Hussein développait des armes de destruction massive.
because it was to him that it was said that Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction,
Et cet alibi
and
a
he
été
did it.
utilisé pour tuer des millions d'enfants en Irak et détruire l'Irak.
They used him. And this Talibi was used to kill millions of children in Iraq
Un soir,
and destroy Iraq.
après une interview, dans l'interview, il disait même que il sait que la
And do you know what was the fate of Chalabi?
quelques heures après, il a été retrouvé mort dans son lit, mort de...
One evening after an interview, he said that he knew that the CIA was on his back.
Si vous trahissez, vous aurez des fins macabres.
A few hours later, he was found dead in his bed, dead of a heart attack. If you betray, you will have macabre endings. That's how it is. Imperialism has no friends. Imperialism uses you.
Et quand il finit de vous utiliser, il fait
And when
de
it
vous
finishes
utiliser.
using you, it does what it wants with you.
Vous comprenez
Follow my gaze.
de quoi
You
je
understand
parle.
what I'm talking about. It has always been like this.
Le troisième vice,
The third vice that I invite you to leave is incompetence.
c'est l'incompétence. Ah, je reviens encore au mot du slameur qui a marché sur
Ah, I'm coming back to the word of the Islamist who walked on my tongue.
Vous comprenez de quoi il
Incompetence.
s'agit. L'incompétence est un phénomène très dangereux.
You understand what I'm talking about. Incompetence is a very dangerous phenomenon that they use to destroy African society.
Reconnaissons-le. Les incompétents ont beaucoup
In our
de place
administrations, there is a lot of incompetence. Let's recognize it. Incompetents have a lot of space next to imperialism,
Les incompétents peuvent
because
vous amener
incompetence can take over the development of a country. Incompetence can lead you to doubt yourself.
Les incompétents aiment tout pour eux seuls.
Incompetents love ease. Incompetents love everything for themselves. Incompetents don't like those who are competent.
Ceux qui cherchent. Les incompétents
They don't like those who innovate,
sont
those who
dangereux.
seek. Incompetents are
Lorsque
dangerous.
vous êtes éclairé, l'incompétent ne vous aime pas.
When you are enlightened,
Lorsque vous voulez
incompetents
innover,
don't like
l'incompétent
you.
ne vous aime pas.
When you want to innovate, incompetents don't like you.
L'incompétence c'est reconnaître celui qui est compétent et il va le combattre
Incompetence only recognize those who are competent,
parce qu'il a peur de
and they
celui
will
qui est
fight him
compétent.
until his last breath,
Cherchez
because
la
he is afraid of
connaissance.
those who are competent.
Cherchez la
Seek
connaissance
knowledge.
et travaillez.
Seek knowledge
Travaillez
and
dur
work.
pour être
Work
compétent.
hard to be competent.
Bannissez
Ban
l'incompétence.
incompetence.
Parce que, à travers les distractions
Because through distractions that we want to make us adopt,
adoptées, on devient incompétent.
we become incompetent.
Les réseaux sociaux sont les
I'll give you an example. Social networks are the places where information is published today.
s'informent à travers Internet et beaucoup de choses. Un jeune qui
People are informed through the
sur
internet.
les réseaux sociaux un article sur sa ferme,
A young man who publishes an article on his farm or an agricultural project or a scientific project may not have 1,000 views.
il n'aura pas peut-être 1000 vues.
But a young man who publishes on futility has millions of views.
Ce que moi j'appelle du n'importe quoi.
As the young slammer said, we want to waste your time on futility.
Justement, comme disait
Be
le
aware.
slammer,
Let's
on peut
focus
faire
on
perdre
work
du temps
and
dans
seek
la
knowledge.
futilité.
Let's seek
Prenez
competence.
conscience. Intéressons-nous au travail.
It's good to be
Cherchons la
distracted,
connaissance.
but we must work first before being distracted. Seek knowledge, otherwise you'll waste your
Mais on
time
va
doing
travailler
nothing.
d'abord, avant de se distraire. Cherchez la connaissance, sinon vous perdrez du temps à ne rien faire. Et la jeunesse,
Youth is the time when you must use your time wisely.
il faut exploiter son temps à bon escient. Les impérialistes le savent.
The imperialists know this.
Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est événement de distraction. Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est
That's why they multiply all events of distraction.
travail pour que vous soyez des incompétents.
They multiply all events that can distract you from work so that you become incompetent. When you fall asleep, you choose the incompetent to lead the important structures. You have no choice but to fold. Let's not be incompetent. Let's seek knowledge.
Les incompétents se cachent souvent derrière des mots.
Incompetents often hide behind words. They use the terms democracy and freedom without realizing what they mean.
Camarades, la démocratie est un état d'esprit.
Democracy is a state of mind as much as youth is a state of mind.
Ces soi-disant démocrates,
Whether you're a Democrat or not,
comment est-ce qu'on peut
how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people?
C'est de la dictature, ça, ce n'est pas de la démocratie. Ça ne
It's a
s'impose pas.
dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it.
Ceux-là qui se disent démocrates, mais regardez, nous avons
Those who
vu
call
des
themselves
scènes où on a
Democrats
empêché
have
des
seen
gens de
scenes
rentrer
where
dans des
people were
assemblées.
prevented from joining
On a vu des
assemblies.
scènes où des forces ont débarqué dans des assemblées pour obliger
We've seen
les
scenes
députés
where
à faire
forces
des textes.
landed in
On a
assemblies
vu
to
des
force
scènes
deputies to take texts.
plus terribles que ça.
We've seen more
Les gens
terrible
tuent leurs
scenes where
manifestants.
people kill their
Mais quand ils
demonstrators.
s'appellent démocrates,
But they
et
call
nous, on
themselves
s'appelle
Democrats,
progressistes.
and we're called Persius.
Si c'est ça la démocratie, je répète.
If that's
nous ne voulons pas de cette
democracy, I
démocratie.
repeat, we don't want this democracy.
Et quand vous voyez souvent les incompétents,
And when you see
ils ne
incompetence,
cherchent pas à savoir quelle est la signification du
they
mot
don't seek to
démocratie
know
en
what the
réalité.
real meaning of the word
Ils s'accrochent
democracy
juste
is.
à la définition qu'il lui a donnée l'impérialisme et il se met
They
à
cling
parler
to
de
the
démocratie.
definition given to them by
Démocratie,
imperialism
sans connaître
and start
le
talking about
Ça, c'est de
democracy without really
l'incompétence.
knowing the
Il faut
basics.
chercher à connaître,
That's
avoir la
incompetence.
connaissance, regarder le monde pour redéfinir la démocratie
You have to know,
telle que nous le voulons.
look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa.
Les incompétents se cachent derrière les libertés.
Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact.
C'est un fait.
Do you really think everyone is
Pensez
free?
vraiment que chacun est libre.
Freedom is collective. As long as we live in a society with
Tant
rules,
que nous vivons dans
freedom
une
is
société
collective.
avec des règles, la liberté est collective. Parce que si vous ne respectez pas les règles,
Because if you don't respect the rules, you can't live in society.
si vous êtes libre de parler comme
If you're
vous
free
voulez,
to speak as you please, the other is free to answer as he
de vous
pleases.
répondre comme il veut,
That would be disorder.
ça sera du désordre. Si vous êtes libre
If you're free to walk the streets and pass traffic lights as you please, the other is free to pass by and hit you. You understand that if individual freedom takes over, we are in a society of disorder. That's why there are rules in society. And everyone has to respect the rules. That's why we're talking about collective freedom. Some people have the right to speak about their individual freedom, but they don't care about others. I think that's also part of incompetence. Because they don't try to understand. They make up the rights given by the states to serve and do everything for themselves, neglecting the freedom of others. No, freedom is collective. Before we act, we think about the freedom of others, and we shouldn't transcend the freedom of others. So we need to have a reserve. And once we have a reserve, individual freedom doesn't exist. Freedom is collective, and we need to have this culture of collective freedom. So let's seek knowledge, let's read, let's interrogate history. Don't read the history they wrote in their favor. Seek knowledge through several sources, and you will understand in history who fought for Africa, how we must fight to continue this struggle of our ancestors. And I won't finish my words without making a statement about communication. Because, as I said, it's the fatal weapon of imperialism. And you young people, you must do everything to distinguish the true from the false. We will continue to dismantle the lies of imperialist media that always try to create problems in Africa. Because these media, through their mouths, can make you a king tomorrow. Through their mouths, they can make you leave your position as king and make you a poor slave tomorrow. Pay attention. I was following a program, unfortunately not long ago, in Burkina Faso, where a young journalist released a sentence that left me a little perplexed. He was talking about North Korea, and the journalist said, "But he is starving in North Korea." Has he taken care of going to North Korea to investigate to see if he is really starving? Since imperialist media have sold North Korea is more developed than many European countries. And because these media tell us that North Korea is a dictatorship, people are starving, they are poor, they have nothing, we take it here. But North Korea is a nuclear power. How did they do it? Let's pay attention to communication. We must not blindly follow these lying media that only try to divide Africa. It is logical. They fight for the interests of their people. And the interest of their people is that Africa is divided. So, young people of Burkina Faso, young people of Africa, we must unite. We must ban cowardice. We must ban incompetence. We must ban treachery and all the risks in our society. We have the opportunity to speak. We thank God for these opportunities that we have each time to speak, to raise awareness. And I invite you to spread the word, to get to work so that the Africa that we want, self-sufficient in terms of food, is a reality. So that the Africa that we want for harmonious development is a reality. Let me finish because I return to your theme. There is no peace and security without development. The two go hand in hand. If there is no development, there is no security. Because if there is no development, the youth will inevitably find themselves in the vice and there will be no security. If there is no security, there is no development. So the two must go hand in hand. Let's integrate this in our fights so that we can fight and develop. Let's go towards production. Let's produce enough. Let's transform our raw materials so that they are beneficial for our populations and in terms of exportation. I wish you a very good day of reflection on the chosen theme and also on the essential role of youth in this fight. Good luck to all. May God make sure that all those who have made the trip return home in good health and that we can meet again when we wish it by the grace of God. La patrie ou la mort. Thank you.
If you want to break with these imperialist forces, it's simple. We denounce the agreements. Everything starts from there. I think the example of Chad in any case is tangible. They started by denouncing the agreements. Otherwise, if we don't denounce the agreements, just saying that the bases leave, we haven't done anything. Because the problem lies in the colonial agreements, the defenses that have been signed since independence. The most dangerous is not the one you see in the bases. The most dangerous are the military advisors. Military advisors exist in all these countries. They existed in Burkina as well until the end of 2022, until we took responsibility. And who are these military advisors? They are the ones who are supposed to implement France's policy. Here, they must work to make our armies very weak so that France can always have the argument to exist here. Under their influence, they had succeeded. Our sentinels were therefore standing guard with sticks. That's what France wants from our armies. When we reach this stage, we have no choice but to want them to come and settle. But the Burkinabe army managed to get rid of the military advisors. Unfortunately, I think that in 2019, after Operation Otapono, where the French saw that the Burkinabe army still had the capacity to respond to terrorists, they called the chiefs of staff in France. They instructed him to reintegrate the military advisors throughout the structure. Well, they did not agree. But upon returning to the country, the politicians instructed him to accept the military advisors. And that's when the military advisors returned to the Burkinabe army in 2019. With all the consequences we know, the army was on the verge of disappearing in the years 2020, 2021. And indeed, this is the time when many soldiers had to desert because there was no longer any hope. We were in the process of collapsing. That's a bit how they work at the General Staff headquarters. In all army headquarters, in the schools, they are the ones who are supposed to dictate the policy of our army. They are the ones who tell us when to recruit, how to recruit, and what to do with them. They are in the schools to tell us how to train them, and so on. As long as these military advisors are there, you are not independent. Your army will just have the appearance of an army that is there to perform parades, a circus. But when war comes, you will realize that a parade is one thing, but war is another thing. You have to break the agreements. It's the only way to have an independent army and build strength. But many people do not understand this, perhaps. And even with these agreements, France selects from our states officer cadets to go and train them. It's through these same agreements. But in reality, these officers who go to train, for the most part for France, they come to serve the French state in their country. They do not come to serve our countries. They train them so that they come to serve the interests of the French state. I can provide evidence of this. When we revolted, many officers in Burkina who were trained in France were immediately contacted to tell them that it was time to take action because you were trained for this, to serve France's interests. Most of these officers reported back to us. We took note and we continued to monitor. When an officer trained in France returns to his country and unfortunately dies, either by accident or on the battlefield. In France, there is a night of tribute to the fallen in the army, as there is everywhere else. During the night of tribute to the fallen, the name of the officer in question is mentioned, and it is said, died for France. They do not train him to serve his country, they train him to serve their state. And in many African states, there are plenty of such officers.
Hi guys, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. I'm B-Boy. Remember, if it was the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Okay, in today's clip it's all about President of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, and he has really came out and sent a strong message to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, because we have all seen and we all know President Ibrahim Traore is known for fighting for the right of black people, is known for fighting for the right of Africans. African for a very long period of time, they have gotten a very strong man who really knows how to fight for their rights. And a lot of people really like President Ibrahim Traore because of what he's doing to his country. A lot of people will protect Ibrahim Traore with their own life. And I would really like African leaders, Caribbean leaders, everyone from Africa and everyone from Caribbean to support President Ibrahim Traore because of his good work he's doing. You have all seen what's really going on in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traore removed all colonialist system, and we have all seen how Burkina Faso is really developing, how it's growing economically, and this is the reason why President Ibrahim Traore wants all the African countries to follow, or all African presidents to follow his footsteps, all Caribbean presidents to follow his footsteps, to follow what he has really done, because these people came to our country, they take all our resources, and when they go back to their own country, they say Africa is so poor, Caribbean is so poor, we like borrowing, but instead they are the one who are using and manipulating our resources. They are the one who are coming and take our resources. And I would really like all the Caribbean and African leaders to wake up. This is just a wake-up call to all the African and Caribbean leaders. Do or follow the footsteps of President Ibrahim Traore. We have seen other countries following his footsteps. A country like in Africa, like Niger, like Mali, they are following the footsteps of Burkina Faso because they see they just want to have their full independence. They just want to enjoy their full independence and not depend on these Western countries. We have all seen how black people are being oppressed, how black people are, how they face a lot of racist. I have never seen in a movie a thief or anywhere in a thief going to rob a bank wearing a white mask. All of them, they are just wearing a black mask. They came out and brainwash our mind that everything that is black, it's evil, but everything that is white, it's not evil, it's a good thing. They came out and said that Jesus is white, but anything that to do with evil, stealing, it's all about black. If you all watch a lot of movies, a lot of bad things are being included to black people, and it's really high time for African people to wake up, Caribbean people to wake up, to see what's really going on. We need to wake up because it's really high time we unite together as one, we unite together as black people, so at least we can be in a better place. At least we cannot depend on one another. Look at what President Ibrahim Traore he has really done in a span of either 2 years or 3 years. He has really done a lot of projects. This is the reason why I really love President Ibrahim Traore. And a lot of Caribbean people, African people, they really love or they would like if President Ibrahim Traore could be their president because of the good work he's doing. President Ibrahim Traore is ranked among the poorest president in Africa, and he has just traveled twice to go to other countries, twice, but you can go and find other president. They're traveling everywhere, anywhere they want, but President Traore he has just traveled twice. Once when he went to Ghana inauguration for the president of Ghana, and the second when he went to Russia to meet the president of Russia, Putin. All those money that is being used to maybe for a president to go to maybe to United States, to go to Australia to see or to make some deals, he's saving all that kind of money so that at least he can develop his country, at least he can be able to control the economy of his country. President Ibrahim came out and he has bought tractors to help farmers to help farmers grow a lot of product, and this will able to stabilize the economy of a country. And this is the kind of president we really want in our countries in Africa and in Caribbean. So a lot of African leaders and Caribbean leaders need to wake up to see what President Ibrahim Traore is doing, because we need to clap for him for the good work he's doing. Let us give him his flowers. Let us applaud for him because he's a president that everyone admires, the kind of a president everyone would like to be, or to be the president in their own country because of his good work. So guys, let us support President Ibrahim Traore by all means. Let us support the good work he's doing, and let us educate our African leaders and Caribbean leaders to wake up. to wake up from the comfort zone and to see what's really happening to the outside world. Not only to depend on these Western countries because they come to our countries and just use our resources, but let us, our African and Caribbean president, to wake up and see what President Ibrahim Traore is doing. Let us create our Ibrahim Traore of our own. Let us teach our president to be our Ibrahim Traore, not admire the president of other countries because they can be able to do that. So guys, if it was for the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for your time. May God bless you. One love.